everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Let's tell you what happened today in Kaduna, where President Bola Tinubu went to inspect and attend the military event, where he gave a speech at the graduation ceremony of the Senior Course 45 of the Command and Staff College in Jaji. The president promised that his administration will deploy the entire machinery of state to ensure adequate security of lives and property of the Nigerian people. The president also spoke about tactics and how it can be deployed in resolving the insecurity situation and challenges in the country.
For we call on you to defend not only our land and resources, but our people and their democratic existence. As Commander-in-Chief, I have given myself the following charge: to deploy the entire machinery of state power to ensure security of our people and property in a just and democratic society. Under my predecessor, the armed forces worked tirelessly towards necessary reform to enhance combat effectiveness and operational capability. We must now pick the pace. My government will provide the necessary support you need.
Well then, President Bola Tinubu speaking to the military and at the graduation of the course 45 of the Command and Staff College in Jaji, Kaduna State. Let's then get back to our conversation. On the menu today, we take a closer look at the resolution of the National Economic Council of yesterday. And we look at the palliative measures that is being put in place, the resolution based on what will immediately be done in the intermediary, what will be done, and in the long term, what also will be done. Are there plans to alleviate the pains of the average Nigerian? The leaders who met yesterday, the governors, the federal government, are they thinking about the immediate pains and the sufferings of the Nigerian people, and what are the solutions? We'll be digging deeper. Whether or not those strategies that they brought out yesterday will meet the yearnings and fix the issues and the fears that many people have. Tonight, we're looking into all of that and so much more on the program. Our first guest tonight on the program is the governor of Nasarawa State, Governor Abdullahi Sule, who joins us virtually from Lafia, the capital of Nasarawa State. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight, and I appreciate your acceptance to come and speak to us on some of the issues on the menu today. Let's begin by asking, it appears as part of the resolutions which we showed our viewers yesterday, maybe I should quickly go over it so our viewers will understand where we were at yesterday as far as the palliative measures that has been put in place by the federal government after that NEC meeting is concerned. These are some of the measures to the conduct of integrity tests on state social registers, cash transfers to be done via state social register subject to state peculiarities, reduction in the cost of governance at different levels of government, also the distribution of grains and fertilizers to farmers. And this is some of the measures. And also working on the improvement of the welfare of workers. These are some of the issues that have been raised. But Governor Sule, give us an understanding of what took the governors or the NEC yesterday to the point where they thought that the national register is no longer tenable or is not fit enough.
Thank you very much, Sean. First, let me thank you for inviting me. Actually, I will discuss about yesterday's meeting, but I was looking more towards our resolution of the Nasarawa State House of Assembly earlier, but that is fine. Let me take the opportunity actually first to thank you and to appreciate you for inviting me to this program. Usually at the end of every NEC meeting, some selected governors are given the opportunity to sit down and review the discussions. I will tell you, nearly every governor spoke yesterday when it came to these palliatives, and nearly every governor also was present at the meeting. I believe maybe only 2 governors were not there. So nearly every governor was there. So it's something that concerns the country, something that concerns the governors, and the governors took their time to look at the report, which was prepared by a committee jointly, anchored by the governor of Kebbi and Governor Soludo. So like you have seen clearly, yesterday, most of the governors have taken the time during the presentation to explain in full detail, what these palliatives are all about. So let me correct an impression. It's not like the governors or maybe the government as a whole no longer trust the social register. What we are saying is that the social register must actually be looked into, because we can't rely on it anymore, because during the last administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, if you have noticed, a lot of the governors in particular were complaining because of the different problems we were having with the cash transfer, as well as so many other issues, because some people actually from Abuja came into the states, and carried out the exercise to prepare this register and to say that this is so they were relying on some of their local staff, and some of them probably may not even be from those states. So they did the best they could, but there are lots of issues, lots of concerns, lots of problems in them. So we're saying that we should look into them, to ensure that this particular exercise and the palliatives are going to the right people that deserve. And the last one, we had a lot of people, who probably found their ways into it, to just find when they were sharing the 10,000 naira every 2 months. A lot of people actually got into that. And if you go and see those people, they were in a much better position than so many other people that we have in the country. But locally, it is not just about cash transfer. I'm happy you listed all the important areas the government is looking to when it comes to this palliative. It is looking at agriculture, how to help some other people and so many other areas.
So how much has the NEC agreed to now distribute now from the state to the poorest households?
Oh, well, what happened is that as far as the NEC is concerned, I think what the president has done and what the chairman also of the NEC, Mr. Vice President actually did, was to listen to the governors and carry the governors along so that we don't have the kind of mistake as we are saying we had the last time. So it is not where the governors are also not going to rely only on the palliatives coming from the federal government. So many other states, we are preparing our own palliatives, to supplement what the government is doing. And even the last administration, I will tell you in a good example, here in Nasarawa State, apart from what the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs was given, we as a state government, we were also given certain amounts. Our own was 5,000 every month, that we were given, to various people. The biggest problem we are saying on subsidy removal, and we mentioned yesterday, is really about sustainability. I have mentioned that at the meeting, and I'm still concerned about that. Once we start something, let it be something that can be sustained.
Recording in progress.
So that's where we are.
So there is no uniform amount on the cash to be transferred to the households?
No, the one that you have seen is the one, the 8,000 naira, that the federal government has already announced. So that one is clear. There is no two way about it. But I'm saying in addition to that, there are so many other palliatives that are coming along, and I believe I was watching the governors that addressed us after the meeting yesterday, and they were very, very careful. They explained them in full details, exactly what I want. So all the states, some states may even give more than the 8,000 naira, to some other people, depending on the cash flow position of every state.
We thought that the federal government has said that is reversing that policy decision of sharing 8,000 based on the outcry of Nigerians against sharing handouts like 8,000 to 12 million households. So the federal government, the government is going back into that idea of 8,000. Is that it?
No, when you say the federal government has already, the federal government has not done that. What the federal government is doing is to wait and hear as much, government wants to carry the nation along in whatever it is that they are doing. So what happened is that they have listened to the governors, they are listening to some other stakeholders. At the end of the day, you know, a number will be announced, say that this is what is going to be. So it's not that anything has been shelved to the best of my knowledge, unless if anything was shelved after I left the meeting.
So there are questions as to why 8,000 naira or any amount of money as that will be shared. There are those who are of the opinion that sharing this money will not help at all. In fact, it will even cause more pain to the economy. There are those of the view that there are going to be issues relating to lack of propriety in the sharing system of in this policy. And saying, look, do not share it. Plow the money into tangible areas that will directly affect the lives of the average person. So is it a matter of the fact that the World Bank giving the 800 million US dollars and had proposed that these monies should be used for social safety net like this cash transfer, and that's why the government and the state governors are going ahead? Or is it that the outcry of Nigerians are not really meeting the needs and the agenda of the governors or the NEC?
Well, you see, first and foremost, let me go back to the point you mentioned about whether 8,000 naira is anything or 8,000 naira is nothing. We were sharing only 5,000 naira, and believe me, every month. And believe me, there were so many people that were waiting for that 5,000 naira every month. And indeed, there were some communities that were able to do some kind of contributions, you know, and they were able to do a lot in their various communities. So 8,000 naira may not be too much money to some people, but it's a lot to so many other people who are very poor families who don't see 8,000 naira every month. So the only thing is that let us identify those families. Now, going back to the other point that I keep saying about sustainability, remember, this 8,000 naira will not be forever. It's just going to be for a certain period of time. But removal of subsidy is going to be much longer than the period for the payment of this money. Because if you calculate that money is going to last only a certain number of months, you know, so there is debate on that, whether it's going to be 6 months, 7 months, 5 months, and the rest of that. You know, so that's why I'm talking about sustainability. Number two, let me tell you another big issue that we have. You know, in this country, we are saying that we are spending so much because NMPC said we are subsidizing 65 million liters a day. Now, from what you have seen, this delivery has reduced greatly, and the consumption also has reduced significantly. So now we are no longer spending that kind of money. So the subsidy amount available may not be the same as we were saying when it was 65 million liters daily. So that is the aspect of this sustainability that we are talking about.
There are issues raised by the governors, some of your colleagues, about the National Social Register. But perhaps it might be some of the new governors that are coming who don't have an idea of the source of these national register and the history on how they came about. I assume, Your Excellency, because from what we know and from what the Social Safety Net Office is saying, they have said that the National Social Register is something that had an oversight of the State Operating Coordinating Unit that was coordinated by the state planning ministries. And it was in fact developed by the state government, handed over and cleaned up by the national government under the Buhari government. That is the explanation about the National Social Register. And Governor Sule, this is what these officers said, which is the office under the Humanitarian Ministry. They've said that the National Social Register is the most credible database of the poor Nigerian household. Is this information available to your colleagues?
But, okay, this is it. I think if you remember, we had this idea about social register and we had the debate, especially when a governor will be sitting and then he will hear that Federal Ministry of Agri had come in to distribute money for something using the social register. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs had come in. So the idea of saying that the new governors are not aware of it, no, I don't think that's the case, because some of us also were new governors when we came in 2019, and at that time, there was a social register. So some of us also inherited the social register. Now, of course, it has been updated and some more beneficiaries were added, between 2019 to date. But what I'm telling you is that it is not the state government that prepared the social register. They are prepared actually, at the states by the representatives of some of those ministries. That's what happened. Because when they came in to do this social register, yes, we were asked as a state, to say that we should give account of some of the people we know that will be incorporated into this social register, but not everything was left in the hands of the state to prepare what a social register was. And I'm talking of the updating. I'm not talking even of the inherited ones.
So there were issues with the National Social Register as operated under the Buhari government. Is that what the NEC has found out?
Yeah, there are issues, and I think that's the reason why not only the new governors, even the two-term governors, who are there, or maybe the governors who have been there from 2019 to date, even some of us are also complaining about but we are not saying that it should be discarded. What we are just saying that we should look into that, and then if there are areas of amendment, to amend them, because sometimes here in Nasarawa State, I see a lot of people that shouldn't have been on that social register actually collecting the funds, and I see a lot of people who should benefit from that, and they are not there. So you have that.
Isn't that an indictment on the Buhari government if that National Social Register that was widely used to disburse billions of naira over 7 years, and that is an APC government, isn't that an indictment on that government of the APC?
Not really. The government will have good intentions. The government will come up with a policy. The government will try to drive the policy. But along the line, you can find some officials of government that actually have done one or two things that is wrong. But the whole idea about it is fantastic. Most of it is good. And I just told you that some people that we see here in Nasarawa State, it doesn't mean that everybody that was there is wrong. You have a lot of poor people that are always waiting for whatever will come using the social register, and people are actually deserving to collect that. So it's just because you have some areas that you need to amend doesn't mean that it's an indictment and it should be discarded.
So, how can Nigerians then now trust whatever process of disbursing this money now?
We should use the social register. Nobody is arguing about that. We are going to use that, but what we are going to do is that to look at the social register as it is at the moment and try to see areas of, for instance, if you give it to the, involve the states can bring in the ministries and say that, okay, let's go. So the moment we go, to Lagos, and we are given this money, then we see Shewun on the line, we can say, no, Shewun doesn't qualify. So we can, those are the kinds of things I'm talking about.
So what is there a uniform way? You will still use the national register, but the state government will now be the one to operate it. Is that the case now?
No, but that's what we're asking. It is not always the case. As I said, those federal ministries always have their own representatives in each state. And in most cases, they are the ones who are driving the whole exercise.
Governor Sule, frankly speaking, and I'd like to ask you, because I know you're a frank person, it does look like a lackluster flip-flopping and a reversal or policy somersault in this case of fuel subsidy removal and the policy that have come after it. It does look like maybe for those critics who got angry when the government said it will review and is coming back, that perhaps these ideas were never properly thought out properly.
How can it be somersault? I don't think it's a policy somersault that I shown. For instance, now, we've been trying in this country for so many years to remove subsidy. These governments came and said we are removing subsidy. So, are you saying it's a policy somersault?
So let me give a proper premise. The fact that if there will be a removal of subsidy, there is going to be a vacuum. The vacuum that has been left now is causing these shocks. And those experts that have argued here on this program and several other sister programs on this channel that have said there should have been proper, because the palliative that you are talking about now is coming almost 5 weeks after the removal of subsidy, which a lot of people said it should have been put in place before the announcement and the removal effectively. And that's why some of your critics are saying it doesn't look like it was a properly well thought out idea.
Believe me, Aisha, no matter what you do, there are going to be critics. In our own society, there are people who just specialize in criticism, especially in this era of social media. I think it was a courageous effort. It's something that we have been, I was the managing director of African Petroleum, in 2001. From 2002, we started talking about removal of subsidy. At the time, it was very minimal. Okay, so no president had the courage to say that he was going to do that. This president has said, I will be courageous to go ahead and remove that, and let us look at it the other way. If he had said he's going to wait and monitor and that, probably he would spend another 4 years without doing it, and people will still criticize him. So the idea of criticism shouldn't actually prevent anybody from doing the right.
Criticism is on one hand, Governor. The facts of the matter is on another hand. The fact that their criticism doesn't take away the fact that the matter is that it looks like there was the horse before the cart. Which one should come first? Put in a policy that will not allow people to feel the pain before the policy, or the policy before the cushion? That's the question.
Well, it's chicken before the eggs or egg before the chicken. It depends on who you ask. And people are just going to keep going back and forth to tell you that, no, you should have done that. You should have done that. How about if we spend the next 4 years doing all those things that they are talking about? So there are certain times where you take an action and then you go ahead and see what needs to be done, especially, when you have an elephant in the house like subsidy.
I'm speaking to someone who is very knowledgeable about the oil and gas sector. And I'd like to ask you, however painful it is, please don't shy away from telling Nigerians what the reality is, Governor Sule. 617, could that be the lowest or the highest that we will see?
What is that?
The price of petrol is selling at a minimum of 617 naira per liter. Could that be the highest that we will see? Or it could go higher than that?
Fantastic. I was asked this question in the year 2003 when we were sitting there, and I believe, President Obasanjo at the time, we were sitting inside as MDs of oil companies, and then at the time, the price was roughly about 38 naira per liter. And then he looked at Funsho Kupolokun and asked him, is 38 naira going to be the highest or the lowest? So, and then I think he answered it, and he said it's going to be about the highest. And he will tell you, I raise my hand, maybe he's watching this program. And I say, sir, you cannot control the price, you cannot determine the price of a product that you don't have. Today, we are importing. If we are importing, so many things can happen in the world market. Today, if there is some kind of crisis in the Middle East, if the price of crude jumps to somewhere around maybe $200 per barrel, this 600 naira will jump. If things improve, around the year 1999, 2000, and the rest of that, price of crude was as low as $10 per barrel. So if it goes to that, then the price of this product will come down to less than 100 naira. So it's a situation of a product that you don't have. If you don't have, you can't control the price. So this is that's the meaning of the regulation. So when somebody is saying that, yesterday I saw the GMD of NMPC, and he said it in his true form. That's the fact. He said that if we say we are deregulating, then we are allowing the market forces to determine the price.
So the reality is that the product might sell higher, or in fact, almost 1,000 naira per liter. There's a possibility.
Well, for your information, in other countries around West Africa, there are places where it's already over 1,000 naira. For countries that are relying on Nigeria, and they are buying. Yesterday, I was looking at the prices, in Cameroon, in Chad, in Niger Republic, in that, all of them, none of them was lower than 700 naira. And in fact, in some places, southern Mali, and so they are already somewhere around over 1,000 naira. So this is the situation.
And I ask you, Governor, because I'm looking at several millions of people watching tonight, and they are thinking, your party preached renewed hope to the people of this country. And we know these difficulties that come with some tough decision and policy of government. It has dovetailing effect and it has a ripple effect. And we're looking at the possibility of what could alleviate the pains and the sufferings of our people. Could there be a possibility of a change in the scenario if Dangote Refinery comes fully on stream and we have a Port Harcourt and Kaduna Refinery that are coming on stream? Is it possible that things might change?
Things will definitely change, not even that might change. Things will definitely change. You see, right now, what are the determinants for the market forces? We actually have crude oil. We ship this crude oil from the various terminals that we have in Nigeria, whether it is brass, that we are doing, or is going to be anywhere, anyway. So many of them. So you are going to ship this crude oil, you are going to pay for shipping, for insurance, for that, to another refinery. The refinery actually refines, and they charge their cost, and they send it back to us, okay? Then there are going to be costs also for that. There are port charges, there are this and this. So even if these are the only charges you are removing from the price, that is also an issue that that once Dangote Refinery is on stream and we follow it correctly, prices automatically will come down. And I've always said this. I've been promoting on these onshore operations that we have. Today, from what we have gone in, we started drilling, in Gombe, called the Kolmani. We are planning, according to NMPC as Nigeria, to do what they call integrated field development, where you will refine the product there. So the cost of transportation from Lagos all the way to Gombe, Yola, and the rest of that will not be here. You can transport from there to the other places.
All right.
We are drilling in Nasarawa and the rest of that. So these are issues that will come up automatically, will change the force of this price. Then we are no longer going to be determining a price on importation of petroleum products.
All right. So quickly, Governor, on this matter, so part of the resolution of NEC of yesterday, we're understanding that the welfare of workers are going to be impacted by the decision. What amount did you put the jack in the minimum wage? Did they put an amount to it? And all of these policies, when will it kick off?
Well, you see, there are some states that have already determined. The states have different financial capacity each. I have no doubt that there are some states, it's just going to be a certain minimum, and depending on the cost of living in some of those states, I will not be surprised if some states say that our minimum wage is 50,000 naira, depending on the cost of living. If you are going into some other states in the north, somebody can say, no, our people, don't have to live at that high cost. So we are going to do this. And remember, a lot of states are also buying buses, to provide not only for workers, because most of the time we're talking about workers. Workers are only a small percentage of the generality of Nigerians.
Didn't Governor, didn't the NEC agree on a national minimum wage? A shift from the 30,000 naira?
No, not to my knowledge.
So when is this old palliative supposed to kick off?
When is what?
The old palliative plan. When is it supposed to start?
Well, it's supposed to start immediately. What happened is that the president as a person generally is in a hurry to commence this. And that's the reason why you started seeing, what some of the states are doing. If you look at the fact that was shared, about 907 billion this year, you have seen that a lot of the states actually have received significant amount more than the normal 600 million, 700 million they're used to seeing. So a lot of states are already planning to do so many other things. So it's supposed to commence immediately. It's not something that
all right. I'm due for a break. But before that, cutting cost of governance is one of the items on the resolution. So the question is, in specifics, what is this cut? How drastic? Nigerians are willing to know, and they want to know, what exactly are you cutting? Is it the wages of governors and the ministers and the commissioners, or are you cutting down drastically in the number of special advisors and assistants, or the travel allowance, or what exactly? Is it agreed on the modality, on the specific area of the cut of governance?
I will say all of the above you have mentioned. Everything you have mentioned is included. We reduce the size of government. We, if possible, reduce the size of ministries in some places, in order to do that. We reduce the cost of travels and the amount of people that actually go on travels. We reduce all these number of vehicles that follow officials of the government. So there are so many things to reduce. That's why I'm telling you, all the things you have mentioned on your own, they are all of the above. They constitute the cost of governance.
We turn our attention to the politics of Nasarawa State. Governor, it's been a dramatic twist in the House of Assembly in Nasarawa State. We had the Balarabe and the Ogazi speakership. Now, what happened today? How did you prevail on them? Mr. Balarabe, we understand, has been re-elected, isn't it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, the former speaker got re-elected, and I used the opportunity actually to express my great appreciation to Honorable Ogazi and all his supporters, for stepping down to allow Balarabe to continue. Both of them happen to be members of the APC, and both of them were elected on the platform of the APC, and both of them were some of the best of friends. But in politics, sometimes you can share common interests, and then you can say, this is what I want, and somebody will say, no, that's not what I want. So I think that's what happened, and the whole state was put into some kind of confusion. But we thank God today we work a lot of efforts, a lot of lobbying, a lot of this that we have done over these past 2 months, and we are so lucky that today everything has come to an end, and it's all laughter. So they all came to see me and to also express great appreciation to me with my patience and everything. So it's all over now. We now have a House of Assembly with a speaker that we are all hoping and looking forward to him being the one to be elected.
I mean, for some of those who didn't agree with you, Governor Sule in the APC felt that you wanted some kind of imposition, and it's boomerang. That is how it's been described.
Well, again, as I told you earlier, Sharon, people who don't want something will always find a name for it. A lot of people actually criticize it. I met this gentleman as the speaker between 2015 and 2019. He became my speaker, and then serving with me in between 2019 and 2023. And all I said was that he has served well, he has done very well, and I want to retain him. In some states, there are some speakers that have served 4 terms, and they are still speakers, and everything is going well. There has not been any problem with that. But anytime I think the governor speaks, there are people who are going to criticize it, to say, I didn't impose him 2015 because I wasn't here. I didn't impose him 2019 because he was even actually selected and agreed upon before I came. So this is the first time that I say, please, I want him to continue. So how does that become an imposition?
I think using the apparatus of state is one of the other things that you have been criticized, that the influence of the executive in the affairs of the assembly, that you use the machinery of state, like the police and security agencies, against those who are of dissenting voices within your party and in the assembly.
Well, let me correct one. When you say within my party, definitely not within my party, because for your information, in the House of Assembly, the APC has 11 members, and out of the 24, and out of the 11 members, actually 9 were on one side, and that's where the side of Balarabe is. And 2 were on the other side, and that's where the side of Ogazi is. So Ogazi happens to be the one with majority of the opponents. Secondly, we didn't use any force from outside, but we can't fold our arms if the 2 different teams were fighting each other, and then we cannot just say we fold our arms and allow our state to go on fire, because people will criticize us even some more to say that here, they are fighting in the house, they are killing themselves, and you did not send any security there to go ahead and protect the house. So all we did was to protect the house. We locked down the house and said that let them go and share and resolve the matter at the end of the day to come back, and now see, and that's what they did. It took them all the time. Nobody stopped them from aligning. We didn't stop anybody from expressing their support. That's what they did.
Yeah, Governor Sule, just in about 40 seconds for us to wrap up this conversation. Is there any lesson the past few months have taught you as a politician? I know you're coming from a private sector, and a lot of things that's being done in politics might be alien to you. And this is what some members of your party are saying. They think that you are slightly politically aloof, and you wanted the machinery of politics to play out itself, and that perhaps you have your fingers burnt a few times, especially in the last election. Have you learned any lesson, and what could that lesson be?
I think the last election had been a lesson for everybody, and also a lesson for me. And to tell you, yes, have I learned any lesson? Of course. In fact, am I going to learn some more? Yes. I'm learning lessons every day of my life. For people like the Mr. President, who have been in politics long before I even knew what politics was all about, the elections came and we lost Lagos. Is it because he was aloof? It was not because of aloof. In Kaduna, we lost Kaduna. We lost Kano. We lost Katsina. Is it because they were aloof? So I think the issue is this politics of this year, and to be fair to the politicians, new instruments were introduced, new technology was introduced, new ways of doing things were introduced, and a lot of politicians were taken by surprise by that, because people didn't expect certain things to be done.
All right.
But nobody was aloof.
Governor Abdullahi Sule, the governor of Nasarawa State, thank you so much indeed for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, Ashew. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is mine too. Thank you so much indeed. Let's talk more about policy and governance. And a lot of anticipation in the air about President Tinubu's ministerial list. There's been back and forth whether or not he's sent it to the National Assembly. But if he has, maybe yesterday we would have gotten a wind of it. But as of now, nothing. Let's discuss some of these issues as it impacts the state of the nation. Mr. Jack Epele is co-founder, the founder and the chief executive of the All Rights Foundation, TAF Africa. Thank you so much, Mr. Epele, for joining us.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Are you one of those? Are you feeling the pinch of the increment in the price of fuel?
Brother, you can say that again. Yes, in capital, yes. But I'm also going a stretch further to find out what ordinary Nigerians are going through as a result of some of these policies and like you rightly said, some of the somersaulted policies and the back and forth. We are making sure that we also feel the pulse of the entire nation, not only myself. Yes, for me, yes, I had to adjust a lot, beginning with the organization and my family and myself. We had to adjust a lot.
Are you one of those that the policy of the present government comes as a mixed crew?
I would say so, Shehu. This government policy, I would describe it like a book, a very good book with a very good title, but the contents are wobbling.
But those who will say it's still in the early days.
Well, yes.
You really don't know what they're bringing out of the heart.
Is it not better for them to sit back and take their time and roll out a policy for a government and a president to put out a policy and take it back? It speaks volume, but
these are initial policies.
Yeah, but I also congratulate
maybe
him.
The larger one is coming.
Well, I must also say that shows a very responsible leader who feels that, well, what I put out before may be a mistake. Let me take it back and do an update. I mean, you have an iPhone. Many people do. There is constant update, But I think it may be best for them to sit back, think through strategically about the policies before they let the cat out of the bag.
The first day in office, the president dropped a bombshell, and it came with its ripple. And those who say, as much as it sounded like the right decision, it has its effect. But the question is, there's a lot of anticipation. Just, like the ministerial list, a lot of people are speculating. And the president is known for the ability to harness human resource. In your own mind, what kind of characters and personalities are you expecting in the Bola Tinubu cabinet?
Well, if we follow his antecedents, especially what he's done in Lagos as the governor of Lagos, then governor of Lagos, he has the ability to choose the best team, no doubt about that. And most probably, we will see a repeat of that in his selection of the ministerial, those who will work with him as ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Knowing fully well, like I said, his ability to ensure he puts together the right team. I think he will do a good job, but we cannot say until we see the list. If we see the list, we will know whether there are people that he wanted to just be nice to and take them on board, and that will be the beginning of his fall if he tries that, because you're holding a very fledgling economy. You're holding a very people who has been through the heat, and you need the right thinking individuals. You need people of character and competence to get into those ministerial offices and work with you. Perhaps if the ministers were in place, some of the policy somersaults we have seen wouldn't have happened, because you will be in a room with a group of people that will think alike, you know, and rub mind and interrogate a policy or a program or a project before it is rolled out, you know. So I think he will most probably do a good job at selecting the right team. But again, he has to be bold enough to know that if I can hire, I can as well fire.
I had a conversation with our former governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, and the former Minister of Works, who said he's worked with Bola Tinubu and Muhammadu Buhari. Now, one thing that you can say about both men is that one has the knack for giving you a role and allowing you to do it without necessarily breathing down your neck. But the other, who is now the incumbent president, says if he gives you a job to do, he will superintend it. He will ask you questions. He will, in fact, help you and do it for you in some ways. But hiring characters of respectable credential is one thing on one hand. Obasanjo had some of the best heads in Nigeria. The likes of Bola Ige served under in the Obasanjo cabinet. But again...
they did a better job, though, than that of Buhari. Yes.
So the question is that what does it need to fix this country now? Is it only a strong or a quality cabinet?
He needs both. He needs both strong and quality cabinet, people who knows their onions, people who have been tested and been able to be productive in their various capacities, people with track record of good character and the ability to manage the opportunities that is going to be given to them. In ethical leadership, Shehu, you need two things. You need competence, you need character. Both of them. You can't say, well, I have character and you lack competence. You'll be a disaster. You can't say, I have competence, competence and you will be a double disaster. You need people of competence and character and who has been tested.
Mr. Epele, there are those who say there's no way in politics these days that you will not pay back those who work for you to win the election.
Well, paying back.
How easy can President Tinubu meander and not serve the political hard workers who helped him win the election?
I followed this president, you know, strategically in terms of his antecedents and how he ran his campaign and all that. I can tell you that most probably Bola Tinubu didn't collect money from anybody to emerge as a president. So he doesn't owe anybody anything. If he wants to serve this country and leave his name in the sound of gold, you don't need to hire, patronize politicians that will go back and ruin everything you want to do. Remember that those people will be forgotten, but we will not forget Bola Tinubu.
I've seen in some places a few of your interviews where you have been talking about, in the print, talking about the advocacy for inclusion.
That's right.
How much of an inclusion have you been disappointed in the past? Because this is not only in the federal cabinet. You are asking for inclusion in the states also.
Right. That's right.
How much of that message has gotten into those who need to hear it?
I believe that the president will appoint a person with disability. Who? I don't know, and I don't want to know. But let the person not just be appointed because, one, he has disability, but most importantly, because he has the capacity, he has the ability to deliver. Because if you appoint a person with disability on the basis of sympathy, it will be a disaster. He will go and close the door.
What is the advantage of including those with disability in a cabinet position or in government or in governance?
The advantage is to make sure that the voice of over 27 million people are there in the State House. Can I tell you more? The advantage is to make these people feel that they belong to this country and that they have a sense of belonging. The advantage is to tap on the potentials that God has deposited in us that we will bring to nation building. The advantage is to create economic pathway, because when you have a person with disability who is speaking for all of us, he will be able to speak and present our issues that will attract investors.
Jack Epele, founder and the executive director of the All Rights Foundation, South Africa. Thank you so much indeed. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.
Don't say the joke I told you earlier before the program started, Jack. But thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, sir.
That's our show for today, this weekend. I'll see you on Sunday at 8 p.m. And sure, I have something in the bag for everyone who joins us at 8 p.m. It's a surprise for you. I'll see you at 8 p.m. on Sunday Politics. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm sure I'll keep my way. God bless Nigeria.